Thank you very much. It's a wonderful honor to be here, and I'm here to share an idea. Now, to begin with, I need to assume that all of you want to be successful. Is that true?
Yes.
Now, to be successful, a lot of people today will define success in many different ways. They'll define it relative to riches, they'll define it relative to opportunity, they'll define it relative to power or position, and I'm not going to argue any of those points. However, I am going to share with you my definition of success and then how to exercise success in your own experience. My definition of success is very, very simple. Success equals choices. The more choices we have, the more successful we are, I believe, and therefore, the more choices we have, the more opportunities that can come from them. Now, I don't expect you to totally agree with this or disagree with this at this moment, but think through it for a second. If we have choices to make as opposed to someone else making our choices for us, it only goes to reason that we're going to have more opportunities that come from it. For example, the more choices we have, the more successful we are. The more limited the choices, the more limited our opportunities, and the worst case scenario, of course, of all, is if someone else is making all of our choices for us. Now, I'm going to try to share with you an idea, a technique, even a process that maybe will help you in the choices that you make going forward and the decisions that you'll make, because I know it helped me. Now, you already heard in the introduction that I'm a graduate of this university, and I am thrilled to be a Murray State grad. However, the process that I'm about to share with you, I did not learn on campus. I learned in the 6 weeks after I graduated from Murray State University. Because in those 6 weeks, after leaving Murray State University, I attended a professional baseball umpiring school. And it was there that I learned a process of making decisions under pressure in sometimes the most heated of experiences or environments that I'm now going to share with you. I like to call them the 5 bases for decision-making success. And I'll start with you by sharing the first 2 of the bases. Now, the first 2 of the bases, I'm hoping, are going to be covered in your educational pursuits. For example, the first base for any decision that you'll make going forward is you got to have the tools. You got to have the tools. You come to university, you come to this college, and into whatever respective college you may be in, trying to learn the tools necessary to be successful in the profession that you've chosen. Now think about this for a second. Every profession has its unique set of tools that are necessary to be successful. A carpenter has a hammer, has a level, has a tape measure. But a doctor has a scalpel, a blood pressure cuff, a syringe. Now, of course, I'm oversimplifying here, but understand that any profession you choose is going to require you to have tools and be able to know how to use those tools. The tools that I'm talking about decision making are research, being able to ask the right questions, being able to explore the opportunities, understanding that we don't want to discount anything out of hand, but that everything should be considered a possibility until we decide further. So number one, I want you to understand that to make good decisions, you got to have the tools. Number 2, to make good decisions, you got to know the rules. Now, I mentioned a moment ago that I went to an umpire school. Well, umpires have tools. You know, the chest protectors, the mask, the shin guards. Those are the obvious ones. And they also must know the rules. We know that every contest, every sporting contest has a rule book. How many of you, by the way, have ever played played in a sporting event or played a sport where the official, the referee, the umpire, whatever, did not know the rules? Let me see a show of hands. What can you expect from that point forward? Chaos, confusion, frustration, anger, certainly disappointment in that we don't get the best out of the 2 teams because nobody knows the rules. I'm going to suggest to you that this is one of the harder of things for young professionals to learn because they think everything should be written. But in fact, there are 2 kinds of tools that we need to be aware of. There are the written rules. Those are laws, regulations, policies, procedures, etc. Those are fairly easy. All you have to do is read those, memorize those, learn those, reference those. But some of the more challenging more challenging of the rules are the unwritten rules. The unwritten rules are driven by culture, habit, are determined by circumstance, history, the way it's always been done in the past, and therefore we either assume that it should always be done in the present if, of course, we helped create that rule, or if we had no way of creating that rule, then we question every rule as to whether or not it's valid or not. Now, I hurry through those first two because I trust that the professors, the deans, the administrators, the people that you come in contact every day here with, who are trying to prepare you for that next venture, are giving you the tools necessary and are sharing with you the rules, both the written rules and preparing you for the habits and procedures that will determine the unwritten rules. But it's the final three steps that I learned at that umpiring school that have helped me the most in making the most successful and effective decisions. Step number 3 is this: position yourself effectively. Now think about that for a second. We can have the tools and we can know the rules, but if we find ourselves out of position, the opportunities oftentimes go unnoticed. And even if we notice the opportunity, we're not in a position to take advantage of them because we have not prepared ourselves accordingly. We must position ourselves effectively. Now, you don't have to be a baseball fan to understand this, but occasionally umpires get caught out of position. And they get caught out of position for 3 basic reasons. And if you understand these 3 basic reasons well enough, you'll understand that anybody, whether you ever step on a baseball field or not, can also suffer from the 3. Okay? Here we go. 3 reasons why an umpire might be caught out of position. Number 1, they were unprepared. They were unprepared for what was expected of them. They were unprepared for what was going to come next. Some of you are wondering, well, what does come next? There's always going to be a question mark. We can never predict with certainty what the future will hold. However, what we can say is that we can prepare ourselves for the moment, and then when the position or when the circumstance or situation unfolds in the future, we're better prepared to deal accordingly. All right, preparation. The second thing is lack of preparation and lack of hustle. Lack of hustle. Unfortunately, sometimes umpires, and this is the term that is used in a baseball game, sometimes an umpire takes a play off. Now, what does that mean? To take a play off, that means I'm going to relax for a bit. That means I'm going to try to catch my breath. Nothing much is happening around me, so I'm not going to be diligent. I'm not going to be focused. And it's almost always at that moment that the unthinkable happens. The unexpected happens. When you let down your guard, as if I'll come to work today and I won't give it my best, that's the day that someone watches you perform and decides you're not what it takes to be successful moving forward in the future. We've got to prepare ourselves. We've got to hustle. But then the third thing that comes into play is this. On a baseball field, occasionally things get, what I like to say, squirrely. Now, what does that mean? A bad hop. The ball goes someplace that nobody expects. There's no way we could have anticipated a particular activity. And so therefore, the umpires go, I didn't see that coming, and so therefore it becomes difficult to be in position. However, if they have prepared well in advance, and if they're hustling, even when things get squirrely, when the unexpected happens, they can respond pretty quickly. However, if they haven't hustled and if they haven't prepared themselves, when things get squirrely, problems, well, they mount, they magnify, they become bigger all the time. Now, one of the things that I learned was having the tools and knowing the rules will not put me in the position that I need to be successful. I have to intentionally choose the position that I want to ultimately be in. Which leads me to the fourth consideration in these 5 bases for success. We've got to have the tools, we've got to know the rules, we've got to position ourselves effectively, and number 4, we must master our timing. Master our timing. When we start talking about decision making, there's basically 2 ways you can make a mistake as it relates to timing. You can either decide too quickly or you can take too long to decide. Deciding too quickly means you jump to conclusions. Deciding too quickly means that you let emotion rule your decision. You become emotionally charged and therefore you respond too quickly. But on the other hand, if you wait too long, people start to challenge whether or not you're decisive enough or focused enough or capable enough to be successful in your decision making. I always tell people who I am working with from a managerial perspective, I say, we need to be quick, but don't hurry. Be quick. Understand that there is a time element to everything. Be quick, but don't hurry so fast that you miss or lose the opportunity that's available to you. The final one, the fifth point is you got to make the call. You got to drive your stake in the ground. You got to say, all right, I have the tools, I know the rules, I've positioned myself effectively, I've mastered the timing. But if you don't choose to decide, frankly, we haven't made a successful decision. There are four types of decisions that you should already be prepared to make. First of all, never make a decision that is illegal, immoral, unethical, or highly impractical. Nothing good can come from that. If it's illegal, immoral, highly unpractical, or unprofessional, then the fact of the matter is we're going to struggle individually. But on the other hand, if we already know what is acceptable to us, we go forward from there. A few years ago, I had the opportunity of speaking at Fort Bragg military installation in Fayetteville, North Carolina. There I met a gentleman who was a commander of a special forces, United States military. He and I had an opportunity to have a dinner together. And during the dinner, I asked him a very simple question. I said to him, how do you train soldiers to be the elite of the elite fighting force in the world? He said, and I quote, it's a decision they make. And he proceeded to tell me it's about tools and rules and positioning and mastering timing. He told me all the things that I'd learned on a baseball diamond, but then he added one more thing. He said, when our soldiers get together to train, he said, every morning we chant together. Now, having not been in the military, that caught me by surprise. I said, what do you mean you chant together? Oh, we run, we work out, do our physical training, but we chant together. We share a common bond. I said, well, share one with me. He said, oh, there's so many. And I said, well, pick one. This is the one he shared with me, and I'll never know why, but I'll forever be grateful that he did. He looked at me and he said, and I quote, on my honor, I commit that I will never leave a fallen comrade to be taken captive by the enemy. On my honor, I commit that I will never leave a fallen comrade to be taken captive by the enemy. I said, what does that mean? He said, it means exactly what they said. They have made the decision based on the rules and the tools and the positioning and the timing. They've made the decision that they will stand by one another regardless what happens. I left that meeting with that gentleman that night. I flew home the next day, but it was hard for me to get the entire experience out of my mind. I kept thinking about what he said. On my honor, I commit that I will never leave a fallen comrade to be taken captive by the enemy. I got to wondering, what if every company started their day by having everybody come in the room and chant together? What if every family started the day around the dinner table or breakfast table holding hands and chanting together? Oh, the chant might be slightly different. On our honor, you can believe that I'm with you, that I'll back you up, that I'll support you, that I'll love you, and that together we'll get through anything. That's a decision that lays a foundation for thousands of other decisions that can help us be successful. It's a decision that made earlier in the life allows us the opportunity to be more successful, as opposed to, if made later in life, unfortunately dooms us to more difficulty. As we finish these kinds of sessions where we come to share ideas together, the first and most important idea is we've got to decide that we're going to support, love, encourage, and always be supportive of one another. Thank you very much for your time. I enjoyed being here.